So do you guys think Karrion Kross is a boring wrestler? Karrion Kross's main roster run is an interesting case. He was one of the first guys Triple H brought back when he took over WWE creative from Vince. Triple H was clearly high on the guy since he was pushed to the moon in NXT and even won the NXT Championship twice. At one point, it looked like Kross was gonna be next in line to challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE title, and now, less than a year later, he's barely even featured on WWE programming. But where did it all go wrong? In order to get the full picture, we have to go back to his abysmal first run on the main roster. On July 19, 2021, while still reigning as the current NXT champion, he would make his debut on Raw facing Jeff Hardy in a non-title match. Immediately, alarm bells would be raised when he took the L on Jeff Hardy in just over a minute. It's also worth noting that Kross was undefeated at the time, and this would be his first ever pinfall loss in the WWE since arriving to NXT. Not a great look for the top guy of your third brand. After that, he would be booked in back-to-back matches with Keith Lee, another NXT call-up who would be ruined by bad creative. The fans found it odd that these two were put against each other this early to their main roster run since both men needed the win to build momentum, and the 50-50 booking didn't help either. He'd continue wrestling in the main roster, even getting his win back from Jeff Hardy, and officially made the move to Raw after losing his NXT title to Samoa Joe. However, it was clear that something was missing. Gone was the unique presentation that made him stand out in NXT. His badass entrance was watered down heavily, and even worse, the most vital part of his act, his manager and wife Scarlett, was suddenly gone without any explanation. As a result, the fans stopped caring about him. Without any character, he just looked like a generic creator wrestler in 2K. Fans even chanted, "We want Scarlett" during his matches. As if they couldn't ruin him any more than they already have, he was made to wear that awful attire, something we'd normally just see on adult films. And they thought making the Ascension look like Wish versions of the Road Warriors was bad. This was on another level. And so the transformation was complete. They have turned the monster heel into a complete joke that nobody cared about. Kross was released shortly after as part of the mass exodus of talents due to budget cuts. Speaking to Corey Graves about this on his podcast, he said that it was a relief that he got released from his WWE contract. Still, it's perplexing why Vince never got behind Karrion Kross to begin with. One glance at him and you'd think that he has everything McMahon was looking for in a top star. A big muscular guy with great promo skills to boot and was decent enough in the ring. Fast forward to August of 2022, just 9 months after his release, Kross would make a surprise return on SmackDown by brutally blindsiding Drew McIntyre during a promo segment with Roman Reigns. Scarlett would place an hourglass in the ring as Kross pointed to the tribal chief, implying that it's only a matter of time till he goes after Roman's titles. The Karrion Kross we knew from NXT is back and better than ever. This one segment completely erased the sour taste his first run left, and with Triple H now in charge, surely things will turn out better this time around, right? Well, in the weeks following his return, vignettes of Kross targeting Drew McIntyre would air. The segments were very well produced and it showcased just how good his promo work is. Kross and McIntyre would eventually come to blows in a strap match at Extreme Rules. It ended up being underwhelming with the finish involving Scarlett having to pepper spray Drew in order for Kross to get the win. Both men would have a rematch, this time inside a steel cage at Crown Jewel. The match was definitely better than their last outing, but even after multiple interferences by Scarlett, Kross would ultimately end up losing to Drew. And then it surprisingly just ended after that. There was never a blow-off third match, meaning that Drew won their feud. This is the moment where his current run started to go wrong. Drew was just coming off a loss to Reigns at Clash of the Castle, so he had to be protected on their first match with a screwy finish instead of just letting Kross go over clean on a dominant fashion. This made his big win feel cheap, and then in their steel cage match, after Scarlett literally tried everything to help, he would still come up short. Having Scarlett interfere in most of his matches made him look weak. Unlike in NXT where he dominated his opponents, it looked like he couldn't get a win without his wife. On paper, being put in a high-profile match with Drew early into his return looked promising, but in the end, it did nothing to elevate either man. Perhaps winning a lengthy feud against someone like Ricochet would have benefited him more, as his best work always came against smaller guys like Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. Case in point, Kross immediately slid back down the card after his feud with Drew, having pointless matches against Madcap Moss. He then began targeting Rey Mysterio, which had a lot of potential. The backstage segment where he was telling Rey a story of having to put an old horse down was brilliant. This would have been the perfect rivalry for Kross had Rey not been embroiled in a more important story with the Judgment Day. Kross was basically treated as an afterthought in their entire feud, if you can even call it that, as they would only end up having 2 matches and none of them were even in a pay-per-view. What's worse is that he would lose their first match to a roll-up, reminiscent of his loss to Jeff Hardy. He would get the win in their second encounter, but only because of a distraction from Dominic. And guess what happened after that?
Nothing.
He got lost in the shuffle, and we haven't seen much of him since, aside from uneventful appearances in the Royal Rumble and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it would really help me a lot and it lets me know that you want to see this kind of content. And now he has set his sights on Shinsuke Nakamura, someone who knows a thing or two about being underutilized in the main roster. If the reports are true, this feud might be his last chance to prove that he deserves to be a main event star. Maybe it's time for Triple H to give up on him entirely. Maybe he's just never going to get over with the crowd. After all, he was already getting heavily scrutinized while he was still in NXT. Some believe that he was boring and overrated, and that he didn't deserve to get pushed over more talented in-ring workers like Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. Adam Cole even exposed him in one promo.
This brand has done everything in their power to make you feel special. You know what they do to make Adam Cole feel special? They ring the freaking bell.
He's not terrible in the ring per se, far from it, but perhaps his methodical style just doesn't translate well over to the fans, based on the lack of good reaction he gets in his matches. So now the question remains, was bad booking the real reason why Karrion Kross hasn't lived up to the lofty expectations, or was he never really good enough to be a top guy? The answer might lie in between.